Wassup YouTube, PokePrimer here, ready to deliver you a special announcement video of sorts that actually pertains a bit to FELLC. So we decided, after some deliberation amongst everybody, that we were going to have a FELLC Little Cup off-season league that we would be referring to as the Foxy Epic League of Little Cup, aka FELLC, which is kind of cool because I don't really play Little Cup all that much. I mean, I did mess around with it before. I've tested a lot of teams. I've laddered up to like the 1300s on Showdown, which isn't terrible. It's not great. It's not the best. Whatever. But I would definitely say that I'm excited about this. Basically, we got to picked our team captains, whatever we wanted our team captains to be, and then we did a randomized draft of whatever was left. We could not pick anything in the OU tier of LC, which we sat down and predetermined ahead of time. So we couldn't take any of these OUs that are right here. These mons right here, we couldn't pick any of these. Plus, obviously, what wasn't drafted. This is all of what wasn't drafted, but don't pay that in mind. But you can see right here, these are our tier listings. You can see we have OU, UU, RU, NU, and PU of Little Cup, which is kind of cool. We had our own tier set up, but the draft was completely randomized. So it was all based on luck of the draw, and I think we got a pretty decent draft out of the deal. So without further ado, let's go into our draft. The whole point of this video, this is our draft for the Foxy Epic League of Little Cup. So to start things off, I actually picked a hell of a team captain in Riolu. I was down to a couple different options. I was thinking between Riolu, Meowth, or Darumaka. I decided to go with Riolu for a couple different reasons. First main reason is Riolu's decently fast for LC. If you make him jolly, put him up to his max speed, he gets up to 16 speed, which is pretty fast for LC. Abilities like Steadfast, which is really nice for potential fake outers like other Meowths, and whatnot. Inner Focus, even better. Mainly Prankster, though. Prankster's really, really good because this thing could throw around Toxics, could throw around could rest very easily on an opponent. It's very, very good for setup because it's guaranteed to outspeed and get a setup move off. You know, get an agility, get off a bulk up. Potentially a sword stance or a nasty plot. A lot of options. Main thing is Riolu gets a lot of coverage options. You know, bullet punch, blaze kick, cross chop, circle throw. Obviously, a lot of good fighting type moves for coverage purposes. High jump kick, especially, is the most important one, I think. There's a lot of good special coverage options. Focus blast, the hidden powers. It has all the elemental punches. It's quick attack for priority, which is really kind of dangerous, especially on a sword stancing set. Overall, Riolu's a really, really good mon to have as our team captain, I think. It should put in a lot of work. Copycat could also be kind of interesting to use too if it comes in handy. If it can come in handy, you could potentially copycat some stealth rocks or copycat a hard-hitting offensive move. If I build an Eviolite version, I may be able to hit off a counter on something, which would be kind of decent. Dual Chop could be something to keep in mind for potential Dragon type. Sub-Focus Punch. There's so many options that Riolu can provide me. And with the prankster ability, I can pretty much do whatever I want it to do, whenever I want it to do it, which is really, really cool. So that's why I decided for Riolu for my team captain. Plus, he's just cute as fuck. I mean, I love Riolu. I like Lucario. So, for nickname purposes, I'm gonna call Riolu. I'm gonna call Riolu Guildarts. I don't know. I just feel like Riolu and Lucario fit really nicely as Guildarts from Fairy Tail. So then we got into the randomized draft, and I wasn't able to watch and pay attention and see what I was getting as I was getting it. So I just kind of like checked it out afterwards, and it was actually really exciting because I got one of the best mons in LC, and that is Ponyta. And Ponyta has the highest base stat total of all LC mons, which makes it clearly superior in a lot of ways in the tier. And I'm really happy that we were able to scoop this thing up because I like me some Ponyta. Ponyta's a really fantastic mon. It's got Flash Fire and Flame Body, which are both great abilities. EV Light set with Flame Body could really potentially shut down a physical threat to Ponyta, and having Flash Fire allows us to have an immunity to potential other opponent's mons. With a move pool like this, having special and physical stats that aren't too terribly far apart, we can run either or, which is really nice. We have a lot of hard-hitting moves like Double Edge, Flare Blitz, Wild Charge. We have access to Low Kick, Morning Sun for recovery. We can do a Sunny Day, potential Sunny Day Solar Beaming set as an option. It's definitely there. We have Iron Tail for potential fairy types. So many options with Ponyta. The best part about it is Ponyta is so fast that when maxed out in speed, it hits that really crazy 19 speed, which speed ties some of the fastest mons in the tier and outspeeds most of it. Also, only like 3 mons hit the 20 mark, which is really crazy. So this is kind of nuts. I'm really kind of like hyped as hell about having this mon on the squad. I'm really, really crazy hyped. That was my Skype shutting down. I apologize for that. But Ponyta is just going to put in so much work for this season. I'm really, really hyped about Ponyta. As for the nickname, I think I'm going to call this thing Seabiscuit. I'm just going to call it Seabiscuit because I remember that movie. I remember seeing that movie when I was a kid. So I'm going to go with that. Our next LC Ogumon that we scooped up was Larvesta. Now, I was kind of iffy about it at first. I wasn't too thrilled about grabbing Larvesta. But now that I'm looking at it, it's really, really dangerous to have. Because it's got Flame Body and Swarm, which are 2 good abilities. Swarm, if it gets down low, it's going to do really, really big damage with its Bug-type moves. Which he doesn't get too many crazy powerful bug moves, so it's kind of useful. Flame Body can shut down those physical threats. As for offenses, you can clearly see that he's more of a physical attacker, but a very, very good physical attacker at that. Can definitely wall break some of my opponent's teams very, very nicely. It's access to acrobatics, which would be kind of interesting if I can find an instance where I can use that to my advantage. Gets access to Flare Blitz, which is really, really good because Larvesta having Flare Blitz would be really, really insane. And I personally think that that it would put in a crazy amount of work. on my opponents. This is our main way of wall breaking. Not a lot of things are going to be able to switch in safely on a Larvesta going for a Flare Blitz, so that's going to cause some big damage. We also have access to Wild Charge, potential water type switch-ins. We have access to U-Turn, which is really, really nice, so that just in case I don't feel safe in a matchup, we can get the hell out of there. Will-O-Wisp, which is really useful. We can burn some of our opponents and shut them down earlier on in the matchup. I like the idea of being able to burn things without having to rely entirely on taking damage. I don't want to have to take unnecessary damage, so I think Will-O-Wisp could potentially find its way onto the move slot a couple times. We have Morning Sun for recovery. We have access to Light Screen, which is kind of nice. So if we can burn something and get a light screen up, then a lot of things can't really touch us too well. And if it becomes necessary, you know, if we face things like Tortuga, Ammonite, or something like that, we can bring things like Giga Drain that can really, really hurt them as well. So there's that. We also have Zen Headbutt. It's just another option. But overall, Larvesta gets a lot of really, really good moves. And it hits really, really hard. And it's going to be a very potent wall breaker for our squad. By the way, we are no longer known as the Hazes Hoopas, not for this league. We are going by the name of the Pittsburgh Ponytas, as the college I go to is not far from Pittsburgh, so I figured it was fair. And I feel like Ponytas is going to become the overall MVP of my squad. So, for the name of Larvesta, I think... I'm not sure what I want to call you. What does one call a Larvesta? I'm just gonna call him Helios, because he has those things coming out of the side of his head. It kind of makes him look like a little baby sun. I'm gonna call him Helios because it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cute name. Alright, so for our first LC UUmon, we actually scooped up one of the best rapid spinners in the entirety of LC. We got Tentacool. Tentacool is a really good mon because A, it hits a really decent... If I make it speedy, it hits this 17 speed tier, which is really crazy because that's like a majority of LC, and that's like one of the top speed tiers in LC as well. One of the most common, so being able to hit that and speed tie a lot of things is really useful. Its defense isn't that great, but its special defense is off the charts, so it can take a special hit if I need it to. Getting access to things like Clear Body, Liquid Ooze, and Rain Dish are all really good abilities. Specifically, Liquid Ooze is more likely the one to have, just in case I can switch on a Giga Drain or something like that. Take it and cause damage to my opponent as well. Speaking of Giga Drain, we do have that as a potential move set option. We have Dazzling Gleam, Blizzard, Acid Spray, all really good moves that I can use. Hex, if I decide to run a Toxic Spikes one week, I could potentially get Toxic Spikes up and Hex the hell out of my opponents, which would be really, really crazy good. Haze is decent because if my opponents want to try to set up on me, I can go for a Haze and shut down the setup early on, which could be very, very useful because there's a lot of mons in LC that pretty much just come in and set up, and I don't want that happening. So yeah, that's kind of the goal is to shut that down. We have access to Magic Coat, so we can stop statuses from hitting us, and we can also stop potential hazards from coming in. We have Knockoff, which is really, really useful. Really one of the best moves in LC. Get rid of Eviolites and Focus Sashes and stuff like that, so that Sturdies can be broken and avoided. No Berry Juices can be swallowed by those Sturdy mons. No Eviolites to bulk extra hits, nothing of the sort, which is really, really good for us to have a very good knockoff user in Tentacool here. And it's a decent wall, so it can sit around for a little while and get a bunch of knockoffs off if needed. Rapid spin is the main thing that this thing is for. Rapid spinning is really, really important in LC to preserve those sturdies. So sturdy berry juice options that can become so key in this tier. Overall, Tentacool just provides me a very, very good utility mon, and can also hold its own offensively if I need it to. For the name, since Finding Dory is coming out like later this year, I want to make a Finding Nemo reference and just call him Squishy, because he shall be mine and he is my Squishy. Speaking of squishies, we have Squishy number 2, which I'm going to name you Squishy 2, as I'm going to go back and name you Squishy 1. Squishy 2, the Inkay, is our second LC UU pick, and when I say that I'm really happy about this, I am beyond ecstatic. I'm already seeing the potential for an Eviolite Inkay with like max HP, max SPDF, and just spamming the hell out of superpower and just boosting up and boosting up and boosting up. Maybe run rest, sleep talk, superpower, and psycho cut potentially, or knockoff. Most likely knockoff is probably going to be the option. But just the option is there for a lot of really great things to be done with Inkay. Inkay is a fantastic Pokemon with the contrary ability. Obviously, Suction Cups and Infiltrator are there too, but I don't see myself using them very often. Overall, Squishy 2 here is just great. His stats are very balanced across the board as well, which is really nice. Doesn't hit impressive speed tiers, but doesn't have to, because the bulk that's there is really, really useful and can it can hold its own that way and put in a lot of extra work. Inkay is just really, really fantastic. I have a lot of things that can take bug moves as well, which is his biggest worry, is a bug type attack. So as long as I have things that can take bug moves, I have switch-ins to protect this thing, and the ability to use it effectively is definitely there. So that's going to be our Squishy 2. I'm really hyped about Squishy 2. Squishy 1 and Squishy 2 are going to be like the co-side mascots of the team, because they're just so hilarious. The next mon I got for LCRU was another great rapid spinner in the form of Pineco. Pineco is really awesome because he's kind of like a Fortress, but not a Fortress. You know, he's very good in the fact that he's very bulky, especially on the physical side, very, very bulky. If I bolster his, so you give him a careful nature, SPDF, max amount, he goes up to 14 SPDF, which is really good. Eviolite, that's going to make both his defense and special defense really, really decent overall. He's got access to Sturdy, which is really great. Fantastic ability in LC. Provides a really good Sturdy Berry Juice option. Potentially, Sturdy Berry Juice could be a thing on this thing. A couple of key things about Pineco that make it really good. A, it gets access to Stealth Rocks and Spikes and Toxic Spikes, so it's a fantastic hazard stacker. It can throw pretty much any hazard I want onto this thing, and it can set it up. It's a fantastic rapid spinner. Not too many things can really get in its face and stop it, so that's really, really useful. It has access to screens, which is kind of cool. I never knew that Pineco could get screens, so that could potentially also be a thing. Gyro Ball is really, really good for us because we have a very low speed. If we take away our speed IVs, it does nothing. No, it drops us down to 6. You go down to 6 speed, which is like one of the lowest speeds in LC. So with Gyro Ball, we could do big damage. There's a couple of really bulky fairy types down here, so at least having Gyro Ball as an option is really, really nice, so that we have something that can guaranteed hit those things super hard. I mean, he's got some coverage moves that we can throw on if we need them. Also, Explosion is really, really useful. Just in case there's that situation where we're backed against a wall and we need, absolutely 100% need to pick up KO on whatever's in front of us. Potential stop area Explosion could be there. Just overall, for overall damage. Explosion in LC is like the most devastating thing that could ever happen. It's one of the scariest moves in the tier, I would say, for sure. We have access to Counter, which is also really good. Counter could be very, very useful against some of our opponents. Overall, just this thing provides an extra really bulky wall that doesn't have the same issue as its evolved form in a 4x weakness, which personally I like that. I mean, in HP Fire it's still gonna hurt a lot, but not nearly as bad as it would to a Fortress who is 4x weak to it. So that's definitely a thought process in my head. So I can keeping a lot of things in mind here. Pineco could become really useful in a lot of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to using it. As for the nickname, I need to look this up actually, because I know truthfully not sure what I can nickname this thing. I'm just gonna call you Boom. Not even uppercase, just Boom. So that's gonna be our Pineco. So now on to the next part of our draft. Our next LC RU pick was Totodile, which honestly I'm not sure why Totodile is RU, but you're not gonna hear me complain about it because I have it. The thing about Totodile, he's not all that fast to start with, obviously. But the thing about Totodile is it's got Sheer Force, which is already insane in LC as it is. It's got access to Priority in Aqua Jet, so forget your Sturdy. Your Sturdy's useless. You were saved by your Sturdy? Let me just kill you anyway. Oh, you Shell Smashed? And you went down to Sturdy? Let me just kill you anyway. You know, that's really great. Dragon Dance is huge for us because if we can get a Dragon Dance up, that will allow us to outspeed like entire teams and potentially sweep with Totodile if we bring the right coverage moves, which would be awesome to be able to do. It has access to a lot of really good stab moves. It does get Waterfall. It does get access to Rock Slide. It gets access to Ice Punch. It gets access to Crunch, I believe. Does it get Crunch? Yes, it does. It has so many Sheer Force boosted moves that I almost can't like wrap my head around it. If I decided to use its base 44 special attack, just to kind of try to sneak a move in there, I could run a Hidden Power. I could run Scald. I could do a bunch of different cool things. I can do a couple of cool things. which I really like. I mean, I'm really kind of excited about using Totodile. It's one of those mons that I don't get to, obviously I don't get to use much. I mean, I don't get a chance to use for Alligator all that much in upper tiers, just because I haven't been able to scoop it up in the league at all or anything, so I'm really, really happy to have Totodile, because I want to see what Totodile can do. I feel like Totodile can do a lot of work. Eviolite Totodile, with Dragon Dance, Sheer Force, Domination could be really, really threatening. Even a Swords Dancing Aqua Jetting set could be even more terrifying. Overall, this thing provides a lot of wall-breaking options as well, and can totally set up on a lot of things. It can wall break, it can sweep. It's really, really dangerous in LC, and I'm really happy that we have it. Totodile will be referred to as Steve. For Steve Irwin, who's the Croc Hunter. For those of you who don't know in this generation, who are too old to have known her, or him, he was one of the greatest wildlife-related people of all time, and passed away many years ago. So this is my little tribute to him, and hopefully Steve can put in a lot of crazy work. I think he honestly can. Because Steve is a hell of an amazing mon. Next up, we have our first LC NU, which turned out to be Shroomish. Now, Shroomish is a mon that a lot of people have probably overlooked. But I've seen people use Shroomish in, like, NU, and it puts in work, dude. It actually puts in crazy fucking work. With abilities like Effect Spore, which allows a random status to hit your opponent, which could be even better. It could provide access to some revenging if necessary. If you get lucky and get a snag of poison or snag of paralysis or a sleep on something, you can definitely revenge it immediately thereafter with Shroomish or something else. Poison Heal provides this thing a lot of longevity if I really need it. I mean, it's most likely going to be Effect Sword because it's most likely going to be Eviolite a lot of times, but still. Moves like Bullet Seed are very, very good for mons like Omanyte, like Tortuga, especially things like Tortuga with Sturdy, so that I can fire off a Bullet Seed, break that Sturdy immediately, or get past that Berry Juice and potentially take it out immediately. That's really, really key right here, is to be able to beat those things right off the bat. We can't let them shell smash, we can't let them get moving and get any form of momentum, because if they do, then that's it. Plain and simple, that's game over. 100%. Drain Punch provides us with some good longevity against a lot of different mons. We can take hits from a lot of things, and we can hit them back, gain some HP back, and feel really comfortable. If we want to, we can potentially have Giga Drain on our moveset for another form of recovery if we needed it. Leech Seeds are really, really good for us because we can use that to whittle down opponents and force some switches. Seed Bomb for heavier offense. Spore for guaranteed sleep. I like the idea of that. Synthesis for recovery. We can run Swords Dance and have a physical sweeping Shroomish. That'd be freaking sick. That'd be crazy. Sub-Focus Punch Shroomish? Why not? It provides just so many good options. Sunny Day Solar Beam. Fuck yeah, let's do it. It's fucking LC. Try it out. As you can see, stats are very basic across the board. Very balanced offenses, so if I need to use moves of either offensive capability, I can. He's not that fast, so he's made more for bulk and longevity, which is kind of going to be pretty much the goal of Shroomish. It completes a very good Firewater Grass core with other members of my team. Because I do have the 2 water types in Totodile and Tentacool, and I do have the 2 fire types in Ponyta and Monvesta. So that does provide us with a lot more options when it comes to team building each week, as we do have a nice potential guaranteed core that we can bring in a week and use effectively. So I'm really excited about having Shroomish. I'm gonna call this thing, since he's just basically a mushroom, I'm gonna call him Portabella. He kind of looks like a Portabella mushroom. It'd be kind of cool. The next LC Mon we got is one that actually put in a lot of work in the UCL Little Cup League on the team of the St. Louis Rampardos, coached by A-Drive, in the form of Yamask. Yamask is really cool because Mummy is one of those abilities that a lot of people don't think too much about, but really has a lot more usage than people want to give credit for. Basically, for those of you who don't know, or are new to competitive battling, any mon that hits makes physical contact. So if I get hit by a physical move that touches the Pokemon, say like an elemental punch or something like that, Mummy will then transfer to that Pokemon and override its ability. So if I can potentially eat a hit from a mon that has Sturdy, now it no longer has Sturdy. If I can eat a hit from something that has an ability that makes them stronger, such as in the case of, a Sheer Force or like a Bagon or something. If I can hit that thing, there goes Sheer Force. That's power out the window. If it's carrying a Life Orb, now it'll start taking damage from that Life Orb and still not be hitting nearly as hard as it was. It's definitely an option. It's there. Move pool wise, we have access to Toxic Spikes, which is good. He's very, very good, very reliable Toxic Spike setter. Toxic Spikes goes very nicely with Hex, because a Hex on this mon is Stab, so it'll do even more damage to all the things that will be getting poisoned. Will-O-Wisp as well is a potential way of getting statuses on things. We can have a Trick, potentially, is an option. This thing gets Nasty Plot. Ladies and gentlemen, Nasty Plot. That's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. We got Rest. Holy shit, Rest. That's powerful. This thing gets Knockoff. Another knockoff user for the squad, which is good. So I think we're up to like 3 knockoff users. Yeah, 3 knockoff users as of right now, which is really great. So I'm happy about that. It gets the moves it needs to get in order to make it a very, very viable, mod for our squad. And while I'm not trying to copy A-Drive, there's really only one nickname you can give to Yamask, and that is Majora. It just fits so nicely, and just makes sense in my opinion. In my opinion, it makes a lot of sense. So for our first LCPU pick, we originally had Sentry. Now, let me pull up Sentry stats for you. Look at the garbage. Its highest stat is its attack at 46, which maxes out, even at Adamant, maxed out at 15. That's terrible when it comes to LC. That's garbage. Has really almost no offensive capability. Can't really do all that much. It does have some decent coverage, I will say. It gets elemental punches and stuff like that, but still, at the end of the day, Sentry just isn't good. It's just not all that good. So I decided, in the long run, I wanted to... We had one option for a reroll. Reroll one mon on our team and hopefully potentially get something better. Well, I would say personally, from my own experiences with this evolution line, I'd say we might have actually gotten something better in the form of Igglybuff. Now, before anyone says anything at all, oh, Igglybuff is trash. Remember, think back to week 6 with Wigglytuff. Getting a competitive boost against Cassie, and proceeding to wipe out 2 of her mons. Like that. That's the kind of power Igglybuff can potentially provide to the team. I know the stats don't show it. It's got like no defenses and like no offenses. Good HP stat. That's a base 90 HP stat in LC. That's crazy. That's nuts. That's ludicrous. Has great coverage. It doesn't have knockoff, which kind of stinks, but it has great coverage. It's got access to Flamethrower and Fire Blast. It's got access to Grass Knot, Hidden Powers, Hyper Voice. Like the list goes on and on. We don't have Dazzling Gleam, which kind of makes me angry. Deep down inside my soul, it makes me a little bit angry. But I don't care. Regardless, this thing's here for coverage purposes. It has Perish Song, which could force switches. It's got Protect, which is kind of cool for scouting. It's got Psychic. It has access to screens. It's got Magic Coat, which is good anti-lead. It's got access to Shadow Ball. It's got Thunder Wave and Toxic for status spreading. It's got Wish. It's got... Does it have Heal Bell? It has Heal Bell for cleric support. It provides me a lot of interesting options. And will I bring Igglybuff? Is it guaranteed to bring Igglybuff? No, I don't know if I will bring Igglybuff, but I can. Which means my opponents have to think about it. So that's really kind of nice. Kind of forces my opponent to prep a little for it. I mean, they won't prep too much, I don't think, because it is just an Igglybuff. But regardless, it's something else my opponent has to prep for. And if I don't bring it, it could potentially throw a game plan off. So there's that. Igglybuff, I'm going to name based off of its predecessor, Wigglytuff, and I'm just going to call it Tuffle, because why not? The last mon we got out of PU is one that I'm not necessarily too excited about, but intrigued to test, is P-Dove. Now, I thought about re-rolling P-Dove first, but I can't have my defense lowered, which is kind of cool, so my Eviolite's pretty safe. Rivalry could be kind of interesting for mons that, you know, have set genders, if I'll have to research that. But Super Luck is my favorite, because getting crits is huge. If an opponent boosts their defenses, they can I can potentially crit through them and blow them away. Which is kind of crazy, because it's something I never really thought about, you know? Something that never really came into my head as a thought process, you know what I'm saying? So we have a lot of, and we have access to a lot of high crit moves. We have access to Night Slash, high crit ratio, bye-bye ghost types. We have access to, let's see, what other ones can I find? Air Cutter if I'm running a special set. Why not? Air Cutter, crit, boom, goodbye. We have access to, do we have regular slash? We do not. Well, regardless, we have access to these kind of moves. Pluck is kind of cool. I'll have to actually, let me look this up right now. Pluck. I want to see, can Pluck eat berry juice? Pluck Pokemon. Can Pluck eat berry juice? It doesn't say. I have to look that up separately. Does Pluck steal berry juice? Ah, so it cannot be stolen. Is berry juice banned in this league? Doesn't say. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So, pretty much can use berry juice if I need to, but it can't. Pluck can't steal it, so that kind of sucks. But still, not that big of a deal because at the end of the day, PETA still gets Pluck and can steal potential orange or citrus berries or something like that. It's hypnosis. A lot of people use hypnosis. I mean, it's low accuracy, but it's useful. Power Herb Sky Attack. Why not? Sky Attack have a high chance to crit too. I think it does. 30% chance to flinch and a high crit. I think that's a pretty good move to run if I can get it off. So that's definitely an option. Just it's a move. This is a mon that I feel a lot of people are going to overlook, but it does provide me with flying type stab, which could be very useful. I haven't had that too many times in leagues where I had semi-reliable flying type stab. So I'm really kind of excited to be able to use this thing and potentially make it useful, make it actually be good. So we'll see what happens. So that's gonna be it for that. If you guys are excited to see all these cute little monsters go toe-to-toe and battle it out, then please make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am PokePrimer.